This is Michael Kajowski, my internet channels. I want to thank you for joining me for today's edition of Book Talk. This book talk is about my suspense novel, Unequivocal Malice, where I went under the pseudonym Michael Parker. That's at iuniverse.com. I also have another one called After Dark at booklocker.com. So this is Unequivocal Malice, a book talk, part 32. And this is early December of 2025. So, looking at Unequivocal Malice here, I was thinking, writers types of thoughts about writer's block and popular bestsellers and that kind of thing. I saw a deceased famous scriptwriter on a rerun of the Tom Snyder interview talk show program. His name was Harlan Ellison, and he had a great Faulkner quote. He said, the purpose he felt of well-written TV scripts and of novels, books, short stories, poetry, one of the purposes, like we were taught in elementary school, is to depict the human heart in conflict with itself. So I thought that was a really great quote. And I'm also reminded of I happened to read a Stephen King novel the other day at the Whitefish Bay Public Library in the Milwaukee area, and I skimmed over, I believe it was called Never Flinch, and I noticed that King sort of returned his concept of novel writing back to when he first started out writing Carrier, that kind of thing. So I thought that was a solid idea, a good idea for him to. He was mentioning things like witches in there and that kind of thing. I've never actually seen like a Stephen King adult novel about a witch. I think everybody's familiar with the famous Blair Witch movie, and a lot of people have seen the children's picture books that they sell at Halloween at drugstores and bookstores. So, Unequivocal Malice here, part 32. The last time we were talking about Morehouse being saddled in the hospital following a car crash. And now I think I will change the subject just a little bit, and I will talk about how Unequivocal Malice got the ball rolling on it here in part 32. I uh, I did the whole thing the wrong way when I got the ball rolling. I had a voice in my head, and it was ordering me or dictating. It was a tyrant to write a novel. So one of the worst ways, I don't think they teach this in school anymore. One of the worst ways to get started writing anything is to sit there with a blank sheet of paper, or to put it in modern terms, to sit there staring at a blank computer tube. That's not the way you want to do it. So unfortunately, I had a brand new computer. This is quite a long time ago, back in 2001. And I did start off with like a blank WordPad kind of thing, a Microsoft Word in my home family computer, and I just started off with a blank screen, and I started going over old memories of childhood and where I got my face washed on a snowy hill, and where I played basketball at lunch recess and stuff like that, and I found that is not really the best way, or not an advised way to. I guess that's an example of the human heart in conflict with itself. You're almost better off to make yourself a character in something if you do it that way. One of the best ways is to start off with an existing book like this. This Unequivocal Malice here could be a coffee table book or a bookshelf book. It's not a bestseller, unfortunately. I mean, technically, they call them all bestsellers, or metaphorically, but you start off there's some words on a page right there. You start off with those and you twist them around to your point of view or to whatever you're trying to say in your novel. Uh, as I said, I was reading the King Never Flinched the other day, and I remember when he first went in front of the public talking about book writing, he would mention about writer's block. And so I have a feeling, I'm hoping that nowadays they teach writing much, much better in elementary school and high school than they did when I was a student. When I was a student, they put the premium on what they believed was originality. And what that meant was you sit there and look at a blank page. And that's definitely not the way to start, to begin, to get the ball rolling. A much better way, which I did and everybody did in childhood, is you just write anything down. It can be anything, your name, or you describe that wall over there or that chair or that lampshade, and then you get the ball rolling. Like that lampshade, I've been using that in my videos to depict laughter or humor. And the reason I've been doing that, there used to be an old saying or an old joke that he was at a New Year's party and he was wearing a lampshade on his head. So I've been twisting my phone camera around and laughing. I've been going, ho, 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 ho. So that's what the meaning of that is. So, but a much better way, which I have a feeling, I suspect, I really, too old to be in school myself, but another way of beginning anything written, whether it's a homework assignment, an essay, a nonfiction, a biography, a business report, or anything, you start off with written material to begin with, and then you combine it with the thoughts in your head or the feelings in your heart. As I said at the beginning, Faulkner's great quote for writers, the human heart in conflict with itself. That shows the emotional side of writing, which you certainly want in there, but also the intellectual side of writing, the logical side. You don't want to just sit there and stare at a page, whether it's got writing on it or not. You want to work it around and twist it around and do something with it. Anyway, when I started off, they had a good concept. When I was in elementary school, I had a good grade 8 teacher whom I liked. Her name was Judy Karsh, and she had us do one assignment where we were to pick like a children's classic or a children's fairy tale, and I picked Alice in Wonderland, and then we were to change it, to twist it around and make it into a new story. So in other words, she did not teach us to start with just a blank page and just sit there in a chair at a desk and, stare at a blank page, or the opposite of that would be to have a filled page and to think that filled page is like on Mount Rushmore and you can't change it around or do anything with it. So she had us a very common way that I'm sure they taught in public schools across the United States. You start off with a children's classic or a fairy tale like Alice in Wonderland, and you change it around and make it original. So that's what I did. I didn't pick the best one, but I picked something that worked. I picked a children's story in grade 8 back in the fall of 1971, Alice in Wonderland, and I put jokes in it. I twisted it around. I called the title Alice in Sewerland. I changed the theme of it, and I made it into how Alice was in this land that was actually heavily polluted, an imaginary land. In the original Alice in Wonderland, I believe Alice falls down a hole or walks through a mirror or something, Alice through the looking glass, and she somehow transfers, like in The Wizard of Oz, into a magical land. In The Wizard of Oz, it turns out to be a dream during a tornado for the girl involved. But so that's how you can start off with a work of fiction and twist it around into something original.